Senator Kennedy.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to repeat what my colleague Senator Cruz said about Judge Casabi, but he's not qualified to be on the federal bench. And everybody on this in this hearing today knows that. You heard the same testimony I heard. He's entitled to his beliefs. Look, about 90% of my personal philosophy is...
Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. If you love America, the Constitution, and the truth, you're in the right place. Today, we're reacting to something that frankly should concern every freedom-loving American. Senator John Kennedy's fiery remarks at a recent Senate Judiciary Committee hearing about a federal judge nominee, Judge Casabi. Now, I just watched the whole thing, and let me tell you, it's a perfect example of what's wrong with our judicial nomination process and, frankly, a snapshot of the broader fight for common sense in our courts. Let's break down what happened, why it matters, and what we need to be doing about it.
Don't hurt somebody unless you have to defend yourself. Don't steal other people's stuff, and leave me alone. If you want to use different pronouns, that is your business. I may not agree, I may not do it, but that's your business. This is America, and you're free to do that. But this judge used his authority to require litigants in his courtroom to do what he thinks is politically correct. And he did that as a magistrate judge. And he'll do it as a federal district judge, and you know it. Once again, I don't care what his political beliefs are, but he has no right as a sitting judge to direct in writing litigants in his courtroom to stand up and introduce themselves by saying, "My name is John Kennedy. My preferred pronouns are." Now, the judge said in his testimony that was voluntary. That's not true. I've read the order. And he said, but it's voluntary. It's voluntary. Right. I'm a litigant in his courtroom paying a lawyer $400 an hour to try to get my case resolved. And the man on the bench who's going to decide my case tells me to stand up and announce my pronoun. That's not voluntary. That's oppressive. And that alone, forget his writings, which Senator Cruz went through very eloquently. That alone tells me that he cannot exercise power maturely. If I could vote no twice, I would. And on this final point, when President Trump nominated people that weren't qualified to be on the federal bench, we killed those nominations. And several people on your side of the aisle, my Democratic colleagues, and on our side of the aisle did it. By my count, we killed 5 of them. Dead as fried chicken. And we didn't do it behind closed doors. We did it here in the committee. We demonstrated they weren't qualified. Now, here's your chance. This man is not qualified to exercise power as a federal judge. It's bad enough that he's a magistrate. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Judge Casabi has responded to the questions that have been raised on this topic, and I'd like to read his response. Let me state unequivocally, as I did during my hearing, I am not and never have been a Marxist. I have never espoused nor subscribed to Marxist theories. Rather, I've been an active participant in and beneficiary of the American capitalist system, as is clear from my own holdings of private property and securities, as detailed in the statement of net worth provided to this committee. And there's more, if you wish to read it. Let me also note that he has served for 16 years on the state and federal bench and as a neutral appellate decision maker for 4 years on the Oregon Workers' Compensation Board. He has an ample record of service as a judge, and his philosophy is demonstrated in any rulings that he has handed down. So in defense of Judge Casabi, I think some of the charges that are being made are wildly unsubstantiated. At this
Mr.
point,
Chairman, may I be heard for just 30 more seconds?
I've been very generous to
I
the
know you
Senate.
have. Would you be generous one more time?
I will. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the judge's response, but we all heard his testimony, and we all have read his record. And sometimes people don't tell the truth in their responses. I'm not calling the man a liar. I'm just saying, who are you going to believe? His written responses, probably crafted by the White House lawyers, or his testimony in committee? And I think what we're going to see going forward is more of these types of exchanges going on here today. When somebody is qualified to be on the federal bench, by God, I will stand up. I don't care what party they are. I was the lone Republican vote to confirm a nominee from Tennessee. I'm almost done, Mr. Chairman.
Almost
the
30
lone
seconds.
Republican vote. But from now on, if we're going to play it like this, we're going to have a debate on all of these nominees and talk about their testimony in committee and who was forthcoming and who wasn't. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've been very kind, and I appreciate the extra time.
You're welcome. Unfortunately, one of our members has had to go to the floor, and we don't know when he's going to return, and I can't ask the committee to sit and wait. We'll reconsider these two nominations next week. The committee stands adjourned.
First off, Senator Kennedy, a man I have tremendous respect for, did not hold back. He called this nominee flat out unqualified to be on the federal bench. And let's be honest, if you've been paying attention to some of these Biden nominees, you know this isn't the first time we've seen someone with radical views or a history of activism getting pushed for a lifetime seat on our courts. Now, Kennedy made it clear he's not attacking Judge Casabi for his personal beliefs. In fact, he said it straight. If you want to use different pronouns, that's your business. That's America, right? Live and let live. But, and this is the important part, he drew the line when a judge uses the power of his courtroom to force litigants, regular Americans, into going along with political correctness. Let's talk about this so-called pronoun requirement. Judge Casabi, while serving as a magistrate judge, ordered people in his courtroom to stand up and state their names and preferred pronouns. Not as a suggestion, but as a court order. The judge says it was voluntary, but Kennedy saw right through that. He called it what it is, oppressive. Think about it. You're paying a lawyer $400 an hour, your case is on the line, and the judge who holds your fate tells you to introduce yourself with pronouns, something you might not believe in or feel comfortable with. Does anyone honestly think you're free to say no? Of course not. That's not voluntary. That's coerced speech. That's the opposite of liberty. And folks, this goes deeper than just pronouns or politics. This is about the role of a judge. Judges are supposed to be neutral. They interpret the law, not push a social agenda. If a judge can't exercise power maturely, as Kennedy said, they have no business on the federal bench. Kennedy wasn't alone. Senator Cruz highlighted concerns about Kasabi's writings, which apparently raised more red flags about his philosophy and approach to the law. This isn't just one senator's opinion. It's a serious, bipartisan concern. Kennedy even reminded us that when President Trump nominated people who weren't qualified, both sides of the aisle stood up and said no. That's the way it's supposed to work. But what do we see now? The Democrat chair of the committee jumped in to defend the judge, talking about his years of service and calling the criticisms wildly unsubstantiated. I've got to say, service is great, but if you abuse your authority, it doesn't matter how long you've worn the robe. And let's not ignore the bigger issue here. The written response from Judge Casabi. He denied being a Marxist, pointed to his holdings and financial disclosures, and tried to paint himself as a neutral capitalist. But Kennedy brought up a good point. Who do you believe? The carefully crafted response, probably written by White House lawyers, or the nominee's own words under questioning? I know which one I trust. Here's my take as a proud, right-wing patriot. We are seeing a dangerous trend where the left is trying to reshape the judiciary into a tool for their cultural and political agenda. They're not looking for neutral umpires. They want activists on the bench. That should terrify anyone who believes in the rule of law and our Constitution. Now, some folks will accuse us of being intolerant or bigoted just for raising these concerns. That's not true. This is about freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, freedom from government compulsion. Forcing Americans to parrot political slogans in court is not justice. It's tyranny, plain and simple. So what do? We support senators like Kennedy and Cruz who are willing to stand up and say no when the system tries to railroad unqualified or activist nominees onto the bench. We hold our leaders accountable, regardless of party. And we remind everyone, the courts belong to the people, not the politicians or the woke activists. If you agree, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video. Let's get the word out. Drop a comment below. Do you think judges should be able to force people to state their pronouns in court? Where do we draw the line between respect and compulsion? As always, keep it civil and keep it patriotic. Until next time, God bless you, God bless the Constitution, and God bless the United States of America.